Hey guys, it's Vampire Mike from Sega CD Universe. I just wanted to do a quick video talking about these really cool statues I got recently. One of them I had owned previously and I repurchased it, and the other one is new. So, as you've seen in the last couple videos, I just beat Dark Souls 2, Scholar of the First Sin. I didn't do the DLC yet. I beat the game. I didn't get the secret boss, but I got the other bosses. Stopped. And then I picked up Dark Souls 3. Just beat that and all the DLC and had a really great time. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about that, but also show off the statues. And if you follow me on Facebook, you would have seen a picture of the statues already, so you know what they are. The first thing is the Bearer of the Curse from Dark Souls 2. So each game sort of has like a generic looking, not a generic character, but like a generic person they'll put you in, and like you kind of have to build your own sort of story to tell, and that's who this is from the second game. Most people kind of knock the second game because it's sort of the oddball of the series. It's different. It doesn't really take place in the same area. 1 and 3 have a lot of tie-ins and a lot of lore that ties in and characters that tie in, where 2 sort of has hints of it but not really, and they did some changes people didn't like. But they did take some of the better changes in 2 and implement them into 3. And people have told me they've also taken some of the better changes from Bloodborne, because Bloodborne was created between 2 and 3. And they used some of those in Dark Souls 3 as well. So 3 to me feels like the most refined, and it feels really great. But anyhow, that being said, as I've said before, and I've beaten this horse lately, Dark Souls 2, 3, and now I'm playing 1, feels like a survival horror game mixed with medieval elements. I feel like you're always on the edge of your seat. You don't know what's around the corner. You know, a lot of the characters you interact with have a strange sense of like, can I trust them? Why are they so weird? Why aren't they telling me everything? There's really no character that feels completely upfront and forward and personal. Most of the characters feel sort of like they're hiding behind something, like something bad happened to them, or they've had a bad experience, or, in the game you're surrounded by the hollow, the undead, and they're stuck in this place. Are you in purgatory? Are you in hell? What is this? Is it an actual land? So there's like lots of stuff like that. There's also tons and tons of lore in the games that, as I said, does follow through the series, but more so in 1 and 3. And it's almost a game unto itself to learn about the lore, because you're going online and you're reading up on people's theories. Nothing is fully explained in the games. You're reading up on people's theories. You're reading these little hints people found in the game to, point to different things in the games. And it really makes it interesting. It almost makes it like a game unto itself, going online and finding secrets with people and talking about their theories with the lore. So most games don't really have this feeling for me, but Dark Souls really does, where when I'm playing the game, or when I first started playing the game, I should say, with 2, Scholar of the First Sin on the Xbox One, which I owned, sold, because I kind of just stopped playing and then got rid of the statue, and now bought the game back, and then went back on Amazon and purchased the statue and the art book and everything all over. It sort of has this just interesting feeling that most games don't have for me, where you walk in and I think the thing for me with the second game, which is the game I started with, you get into this main hub area called Majula, and it's like this beautiful little hub area on like a mountainside. The music's really tranquil. Everything you need is kind of there. You meet characters throughout your adventure who come back to Majula, so you have like a blacksmith. There's this girl that sells spells. There's another guy that sells ladders. And they all have different kind of things they do or bring to the table. But again, they all have this sort of sadness sort of with them. So anyhow, the general character for Dark Souls 2 is the Bearer of the Curse, and this is the Farum Knight set that they give him in the game. I don't even know if I got this set in the game, to be honest. I don't remember getting it. It's in the game, I know that. I just don't recall if I got it, because I kind of always stuck with the same armor. But So that's like the general character for the second game. And the statue's pretty cool. It has a lot of little intricacies with the fur and, you know, the little chainmail and stuff. The only thing I didn't really love about this statue was down here where the rock base is. It looks kind of just shoddy and simplistic, where I felt like some of the other stuff, they really went into a little more finer detail. This company, Banpresto, also does this series called DXF, and the first figure they did was a copy of this guy, but he's smaller. He's probably a little more detailed. They sell him at GameStop for like 40 bucks, but I didn't really want to pick up two of the same character. I thought that was kind of foolish. But he is cool looking, so you can keep an eye out on that if you can't find this statue. And so yeah, most games really don't evoke the feeling that Dark Souls 2 had evoked in me. This feeling of like loss, you know, being kind of on the edge of your seat, but also then, you know, moments later being back in Majula and feeling this sense of serenity, and these characters around you who also felt lost. So I like Dark Souls 2 a lot. I beat it. I didn't do the DLC. Like I said, I just beat the final bosses and then I stopped. And my friend Eric was kind enough to tell me, pick up Dark Souls 3 and I'll play the game with you. And he had beaten the game and all the DLC, but he played through the whole game with me. And my buddies Brian and Tim are playing through the game as well, so I pop in sometimes and I'll play with them and help them out where they are, because they're a little further behind now, obviously, since I beat the game and they didn't. And I really wanted the statue from Dark Souls 3, which I had mentioned in a previous video. Like there's something in my eye. So I picked this statue up on eBay for a great price from a really nice guy named Steve. I'm not going to give his last name out. He knows who he is. Thank you, Steve. This is so cool. They sit on my my shelf next to my television, and this is the Ashen one from Dark Souls 3. He, you get this armor at the end of the game, and he's more of a limber-looking character as opposed to this like big, stocky-looking bastard. But very, very cool statue. A little smaller. I think it's like 10 inches compared to 12. This came with the collector's edition of Dark Souls 3. They also did a prestige edition, which came with, I want to say it was Yorm. He's huge, and the prestige edition was like $500 or something, or $300. It was absurd. So I think this is really cool, and I really appreciate it, Steve. So thank you very much for giving me a good price on this and giving me a collectible I really wanted. And the reason I wanted these collectibles, and this is kind of the point of the video, is I really love the games now. I'm going back and playing 1. I find 1 to be obviously the least attractive visually. It is sort of clunky. There are some elements of the game that I'm not used to, because I'm used to like the fast travel from 2 and 3, and I'm used to some of the elements from 2 and 3 that aren't present in 1, or maybe some of the terms are different. But so far I'm liking the little bit I've played of 1. I just beat the Taurus Demon and got up to some bridge with a dragon blowing fire, and I stopped there, so I'm not very far. But I will get back to you guys on my input on that when I do get further and beat it. So anyhow, these statues remind me of the games, but they also remind me of my friends. And, you know, this has a cool story attached to it now with that guy Steve that sold me it. But my good buddy Eric Hesh, playing through the whole game with me again, even though he beat it already, he could have said, you know what, I don't want to play through this freaking game again. I played through it 2 or 3 times. Why am I going to go through it again? But he did. Playing with my buddies Brian and Tim, you know, and we're all really close friends, and I care about all these people. So it sort of has that element attached to it. So when I look at these statues, they bring back feelings, they evoke some emotions, even though the game, the third game at least, was something I beat recently, and the second game to an extent as well. So when a game evokes an emotion, I feel like it really does its job. When you go to a world that they put you in and you feel like you're there, or like I said, you're on the edge of your seat, you're tense, or you even find some elements of, you know, reaching sort of like I don't want to use the word heaven, but like a Valhalla, or some kind of, I can't think of the word, like a inner peace when you reach certain areas in games where you're like, okay, I beat that part, I get stopped, you know? And this all kind of triggers that for me with these statues. So that was the reason I wanted these statues. I think they're really cool. I think the games are really cool. I think the lore is great. As I said, it's almost a game unto itself, going online and talking lore with people, or reading people's kind of ideas and opinions on the lore. And there's little tie-ins with the characters in the lore between 1 and 3. There's a tiny bit between 2 and 3, and 1 and 2, but not as much. It really is like 2 is the odd man out, as I said, but I appreciate the games. I think they're great, and I really think these statues are cool, and I look forward to just, you know, keeping them up there and kind of looking at them from time to time and evoking these emotions again, and this sense of almost like reminiscing, because I got to spend it with my buddies Eric, Brian, and Tim, and you know, getting invaded and getting killed and killing the invaders, and him showing me all these like secrets and areas I would have never figured out. The game has a lot of like secret areas and kind of things that they'll hint towards, and people can leave messages on the ground that they write. So if you read the messages, sometimes they'll hint towards what you do next, and you can sort of figure it out. But some of it I would have never figured it out. I'm not that smart. And yeah, so I would wholeheartedly recommend trying these games. I would probably say to just play 3. 3 feels the most, you know, well done, the fastest, the smoothest. There were some frame rate drops on the Xbox One, but nothing crazy. But, you know, it's manageable, but it definitely, I would say, runs better on the PlayStation 4. Though I don't have a PlayStation, so I never got to play Bloodborne either, which I hear is great. And yeah, so check out the Dark Souls series if you haven't. If you have patience and you don't mind kind of learning the rhythm of things and taking your time going through the game, there's always a way to get through every area, even if you're like level 1. You just really have to be patient and learn the game and the rules. And you'll always just find something interesting and intriguing. It always feels like there's some kind of secret that you haven't figured out. That's sort of how the game feels. Like there's just something more there. And as I said, playing it with friends made it even more fun, as well as making it a bit easier because it can be difficult. So thanks guys for watching. Thank you Eric for playing the games with me, and Brian and Tim, and thank you Steve for selling me this awesome piece again. It's Vampire Mike from Sega CD Universe. Be good.